Hi, I'm Beth.
I'm Hannah.
And this is the XX Podcast. So today we're going to be talking about Alien. So I guess spoiler warning, despite the film being how old?
37 years old now.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, which I'm not getting you down for because I literally watched it today, but yeah, if you care about spoilers, watch it. All of the references will make so much more sense. All the pop culture references, because everything is clicked into place in my head today suddenly. But yeah, if you care about spoilers, go and watch it. If you are terrified, like I am, don't watch it. Just listen to us talking through it instead. That might be a nicer way to experience the story.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Alien is a 1979 film, directed by
Ridley Scott.
Yeah. So what's it about, Hannah? Because it's your baby rather than mine.
It is my favourite film, but I feel a lot of pressure right now. So it's I'm the one leading. The original plot of it is that there's a cargo ship in space. The crew are in stasis, so they're in sort of what you'd probably call hypersleep. Would you call it hypersleep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stasis, hypersleep.
And they're woken up early by the ship's computer, Mother, and they find out that there's been an alien distress signal, and they have to go investigate it.
Yeah. So then they go and investigate the signal, and one of the crew gets attacked by what we know as face huggers, and I'm sure that you've seen references to that. If not, Google it. They're mildly terrifying. And they get brought back onto the ship.
Yeah, so they do. One of the guys gets a face hugger on his face. I would argue, due to his own fault, he touches the thing. He does the thing.
The thing in all films to make them happen. We understand that even though tropes are tropes because otherwise we don't get entertained. But there's like, oh, shiny thing that looks like it might hurt me if I touch it. I'm gonna touch it.
So he gets this thing on his face, and they try to come back onto the ship, and they are initially refused entry.
Yes, for quarantine purposes, by a very sensible character who we might talk quite a lot about in a minute. But they do eventually get let on, bringing Alien onto the ship, and they leave the planet with Alien in tow.
Yes.
And then all hell breaks loose, in a way.
Yeah, in a way. So something happens. This guy has a face hugger on his face, and he's in the medical centre. And
then he doesn't have a face hugger on his face.
Exactly. It falls off and dies.
Yeah. And then they're sitting around having dinner. It's all very nice, very civil, having a bit of a laugh. And then an alien bursts out of his chest, killing him and terrifying everyone else.
The classic chestbuster scene.
Yeah.
So they actually didn't know, the other cast members didn't know that his chest was going to burst open when it was filmed. So the shock and terror on their faces in that scene is real. Oh, that's
brilliant.
And that the thing bursts out of his chest, escapes onto the ship somewhere, and they decide that they're going to go and kill it.
Yeah, so they're trying to kill this thing. It's killed one of their crewmates, and yeah, so they're trying to make sure it doesn't kill any of the rest of them, really.
Yeah, I think it's a twist on the standard of being hunted by a monster. It's escaped and it's somewhere, so they decide to actively go and find it and kill it.
Yeah, I mean, the alien does do the stereotypical thriller, everyone dies one by one until there's only one person left. But interestingly enough, the last three people alive are the ones that normally you think about it, there are stereotypes that it is the black guy and the women, they're the ones that go first.
Always.
But the black guy and the women are the ones that are left.
Yeah.
They're the last alive, which is quite fun. So yeah, basically what happens is the cast gradually get picked off the crew of this ship until Ellen Ripley is the only one left.
Yeah.
And then
her and Jonesy, the cat.
Her and Jonesy, the cat, the ship's cat. When I was watching it today, I made notes because I was scared, and my way of not being scared was to make notes. And I've written, "Why is there a cat?" and then a comma, and then big spoiler here, guys: the cat survives. So I was happy.
It's a reassuring spoiler.
It's a reassuring spoiler. Don't worry. So yeah, I guess at the end of the film, Ellen Ripley escapes on she blows up the main ship and escapes on a little shuttle to try and get away from this alien who they can't work out how to kill. So she hopes that blowing it up and leaving it in, if the explosion doesn't kill it, then the vacuum of space hopefully would. And she's nice and she's chilling out. She thinks she's escaped. And of course then she finds out that the alien has stowed away on her little craft.
Yeah, it's hiding itself in sort of a space that it's found. Yeah, so she decides to blow it out the airlock. Standard.
Yeah, so the good guy wins in the end. But we're just going to talk a little bit about it and some of the more interesting parts of this very, very much iconic film. So there's a small cast. I think at the very beginning it says that the big ship that they're on is called the Nostromo.
Yeah, the Nostromo. It's just a cargo ship. They're just bringing cargo from one place to another. They're not explorers.
No, and there's a crew of 7.
Yeah.
There's a science officer who is not Ellen Ripley. So Ellen Ripley is the main character, played by Sigourney Weaver, and her role in this actually got her nominated for Best Actress. This was kind of her breakout role as well. This isn't the Sigourney Weaver we know that's been in almost everything under the sun. This is new, raw, nobody Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. And the character of Ellen Ripley is an incredibly strong character, in the sense that it's built very strongly. It was actually Weaver herself who said, I didn't know, I had doubts that I could play her as strongly as she needed to be played. So it was obvious, even from the script, that it was going to be a very influential character.
Yeah, in fact, the American Film Institute in 2003 made a list of the 100 greatest heroes and villains, so the 50 greatest heroes and the 50 greatest villains, and Ellen Ripley is rated the second best at number 8. She's the second best female hero. Second, after the first best female hero is apparently Clarice Starling from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, such a good character.
I found out that there are only 2 women in the top 10 heroes on that list, and only 3 in the top 20. Whereas the villains list, there are 6 women. So
in the top 10.
Yes. So apparently, according to the American Film Institute, women are better villains than heroes. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know whether or not that would be potentially because there are just fewer female heroes, but and regardless, there should be more female
correlation
heroes.
Causation is interesting, but yes, there are only 2, and this isn't about how, that's about the characters as well, not the acting. So there's some very, very well acted villains, I'm sure, that just aren't as exciting as some. So, yeah,
well, it's notable even.
Yeah, but we were also looking at the references that Alien has spawned. So not just the character of Ellen Ripley, but
spawned.
Yeah, it's everywhere now. From Firefly, it's in Kill la Kill, which is an anime. There's references.
Yeah.
There are references in Toy Story, so children's films even.
Yeah.
Other sci-fi series, Call of Duty. Halo blatantly admit to being very much inspired by the whole Aliens trilogy, quadrilogy, expanded universe. But then there's chestburster references that's seen in pretty much everywhere you look. Simpsons have chestburster references. Family Guy. Yeah, anyone who...
It even has like its own episode in Buffy. I think they've got these eggs that hatch out something that sticks to your face. Like, it's almost identical but slightly smaller. Yeah,
so it's really, really an iconic film. It's an iconic film which is interesting because Ellen Ripley is not a normal sci-fi character, or at least at the time the film was released. She was certainly not how it wasn't how stuff was done at the time.
It wasn't how women tended to be portrayed. It was a very strong, a very common thing in the era to have scream queens, where the female characters would be helpless, screeching, like they needed to be saved or rescued. They were damsels.
Yeah.
And along came Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, and she was the one who was trying to save everyone in this film. So
alternatively, I think John Scalzi, who is the president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, says that science fiction film is filled with hot, kick-ass women doing impossible things with guns and melee weapons while they spin around like a gymnast in a dryer. So you've kind of either got this stereotype of they're pathetic and useless, or they're this sort of super weapon, like super female who, you know, does all of this crazy stuff in the daytime and picks up the kids at the end of the day.
So she's not relatable, really.
Yeah.
If she's that sort of killbot.
Yeah. So she's either a flannel or a robot.
Yeah. And it seemed like there was no space for the in between.
Yeah.
But I really think that the character of Ellen Ripley just absolutely hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't too cold.
Yeah. The moment where they're trying to get back on the ship, quite near to the beginning, with the face hugger attached to this crew member, Ellen Ripley is the one who refuses to let them on board. She's the one that says, no, you've got to go in quarantine, I can't let you back. But she does it with hesitation. She's not a robot. Interestingly, a robot is the one who actually lets them on the ship, but yeah, she's not cold. She does consider it. Her character almost breaks, you feel, before giving her final verdict that no, she's going to follow protocol. She's going to protect the rest of the crew who are left on the ship.
Yeah. She still maintains her humanity. And a lot of ways that films try to give that back to their female leads is by giving them a love interest.
Yeah.
Or some maternal instinct, whereas although Ellen is compassionate, she doesn't have that crux of a love interest that she's desperately trying to save.
No, she's got a cat.
She's got a cat, and that's very important for her.
Yeah, she does actually. She is the one that saves the cat, which again makes her a relatable and lovable character without, you know, having her thrown at the last male alive kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's no final, we're in this together with the last humans on board, love me kind of moment. But yeah, back to this robot. Interestingly enough, Ripley isn't the science officer on the ship, she's the lieutenant. And the science officer, so, you know, talking about women in sci-fi but also scientists in sci-fi, the scientist turns out to be a robot. And it's really interesting because he is actually reminded by Ripley that he should have followed protocol and not let the people back on the ship. It is later that we find out that the reason that he has let them back on the ship is he's got another objective, which is to save the alien and to get the alien back home so that it can be studied. The crew are expendable.
Yeah, it does also bring into this whole idea that, you know, scientists are white males, you know, are slightly older and also robotic.
Yeah,
so they very often
emotionless.
Are portrayed emotionless, and it turns out that this one is actually a robot, and that's why. And he messes things up for everyone. Yeah,
he does. He is. He's not exactly helpful.
And interestingly, because he defies Ripley and lets the crew back on board with this alien being. He's breached protocol.
Yeah.
She brings him up on it. She doesn't just let it go like a weaker character would have done and just been like, oh well, you know, he disrespected my authority. She goes up to him in a very professional way. She
doesn't shout at him.
No.
We're saying Ellen Ripley. A lot of commentary on it says that she's got masculine and feminine traits. She's got stereotypically masculine and feminine traits. So that kind of situation in a lot of films could be handled by the kind of shouty male characters going like, "You didn't respect my authority," blah blah blah, like pulling rank, shouty. She's not like that. She doesn't shout, but she also doesn't beat around the bush. She comes out with it. She just says, "Look, when they're off, I'm senior officer. You should have listened to me. Next time, you're going to listen to me."
And it's that hitting the perfect amount of authority, but also being relatable.
Yeah.
So she's calling on his.
She's also not sexual in her authority at all.
No, and that is also common too. Isn't it?
She's not going, well, I'm your boss, kind of. It's just she's in charge. Next time, don't make a mistake again.
Yeah.
You know.
The only thing that she's lording over him is her authority. She's not aggressive towards him. She's not dominating him in any way other than saying, I am actually your superior officer.
Yeah.
I'm in charge when the captain is off the ship, so you should follow protocol, and you know that. She brings it back to the fact that he is aware that he did wrong.
Yeah. I mean, funnily enough, we talk about protocol, and we're just pointing out that some of the protocol in this film is absolutely ridiculous, and it doesn't have to be. So, like, when this mysterious face hugger goes missing off this guy's face,
in the quarantine, in the
medical bay, the three other characters just walk into the medical bay with they don't have masks on, they're not in hazmat suits, there's no airlock on the med bay or anything, so like even if they did follow quarantine procedure. They wouldn't really be able to. Like, you know, what's going on there?
Yeah,
and it wasn't necessary because no one was actually attacked by the facehugger.
It does fall on Ripley.
It falls on Ripley, but that would have been just as effective if she was in a hazmat suit. So yeah, there's, you know, protocol. But
yeah, there's some aspects of that, and I don't know whether or not that's just to do with the fact that because the initial protocol was breached, that everything's sort of fallen away underneath because of the panic, or if it's just a way that they were just badly portraying science,
or potentially in that wonderful, complicated world of anything creative, that they wanted to portray science very accurately, but budget let them down and they couldn't afford 3 hazmat suits. Like, if you're going to cut a corner somewhere, especially with something like an alien costume in there, which was very good, I felt, as well. I think it held up very well, apart from in the whole body scenes. But you couldn't. It didn't really look like man in alien suit unless you saw the whole body. But yeah, if it was a matter between, you know, making that look better and buying hazmat suits, I think the creative decision to not have hazmat suits was a good one.
Yeah.
But again, as a eternally frustrated scientist watching sci-fi, you always sit there and you wonder, you know, how much belief do I have to suspend?
Yeah, because there is also there's that difference between this film and modern sci-fi. So if you take, for example, The Martian, all of the crew are scientists.
Yes.
Because it's a scientific mission.
Yeah.
Whereas in Alien, all the crew they do have a science officer, but their primary purpose is not scientific.
No, and they've all got military rank as well.
Yeah.
Which is, I find it very interesting when, and it happens quite a lot in this sort of astronaut, any sort of space film with astronauts, is that they've got this military ranking, and it's often because it's just the terminology. So you've got a ship and a crew, and ships, because of their naval military background, often, you know, you've got a captain, you've got an admiral, you've got that kind of thing, and that extends into spaceships. I mean, we call them spaceships, spaceports. You know, I mean, even solar powered spaceships, they call them solar sails.
Just docking.
Docking, exactly.
Dock, yeah.
So yeah, there's that interesting parallel, which I find quite fascinating. Is sometimes you've got military characters pulling rank over scientists, and sometimes you've got scientists sort of doing bad science because they're using their military rank, which is quite interesting. But that doesn't really happen in this film too much.
Yeah, the captain does come back and he says, you know, well, it's not my decision to make because Ash is the science officer.
Yeah.
Which makes it seem like the science officer has the highest rank of all.
Yeah, and there is also this other protocol that this robot science officer is following. Ripley, when she's left as the highest ranking officer on the ship with the robot and other people, has to enter some serious override codes to get to the bottom of this mystery of why Ash is acting funny, why Ash the science officer is acting funny. So she comes in as captain at that point and says, you know, to the computer, let me know, and computer literally says no, this is for the science officer only.
Yeah.
So the science officer is actually ranked quite highly,
yeah,
and given quite a lot of weight. It's unfortunate that he turns out to be really not very helpful and not a nice robot.
I wonder if there's anything in the idea that the ship's computer is called Mother, because it is in control in a very oppressive way.
Yeah.
So it bypasses the captain and Ripley and everyone, because it's in the computer is in cahoots with the other computer, with the robot.
But I mean, they're
humanity.
all in cahoots with the owners of this mining shipping company that the spaceship belongs to. So but that the only face of that company is these two robots.
Yeah, it is interesting because also they don't want to follow the signal to the moon, LV 426. They don't want to go
to the original place where you find
where the
alien
SOS
eggs
signal is coming from. They're woken up because of this signal. They don't want to go and investigate it because the crew aren't scientists. They don't have that that drive of just glory. They don't have the drive of just finding out. Ash does, because he's a science officer. He does make a lot of references to the fact that he's just very interested in this perfect organism, as he calls it. And it's only when it's held over their heads that they will not get paid if they don't go and go and find out.
So the whole crew are motivated by money, really, apart from the science officer. And
not just money, like very real fears of just like, well, we don't know what it's like down there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. Like I just tow cargo.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's a very interesting aspect that scientists are portrayed as taking risks.
Yeah.
just for the sake of discovery.
Yeah, which is, that's quite a positive look on science, but we do get back to that science trope of scientists end up destroying the world because he's the one that lets the alien in on the ship.
That disregard for humanity is a fear that's very much in people, that because scientists just want to do what they want to do in order to find out an answer, that they don't care what effect it has on things. But it can be positive in the sense that it's showing that that people are just driven by curiosity.
Yeah.
But showing also that can have consequences.
Yeah. I think that it is important to say as well that there are bad scientists in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously...
motivated by bad things.
Yeah, motivated by bad things. There are scientists who are motivated purely by money, purely by greed. Some people, I'm sure there are some scientists that are motivated by horrible things, that want to go out of their way to do bad things to people. But that's not exclusive to scientists.
I think that's also a very tiny minority.
Yeah,
as well.
No, of course.
Yeah,
but
it just seems to get so much
more coverage. Yeah, which is, I think that there's arguments on either side, because there are scientists who glorify their own profession and sort of put scientists on a pedestal of they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Which is also incorrect. Scientists are human, but problematically, they are very often not portrayed as human at all.
Yes.
In
because they are fallible.
In fiction, in film, in that kind of situation, they are either held up as this robotic brilliance or maniacal, either robotic brilliance, like they strive to perfection, which can either be held up in films as a positive or a negative. They're either gods or demons, really. There's no in between. There's no humanity, and the humanity in this film, admittedly not exhibited by the robot scientist, but the humanity in this film is really quite tangible.
Even I would argue that the humanity in the film is Ellen Ripley.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't represent just one aspect of it. It's that because we've mentioned that she's got these aspects of what would be deemed masculine and feminine traits, it's, she holds up many of the core values that we admire in people in general.
She's an everyman.
Yeah.
But it's really, really nice to have an everyman, especially in a thriller film, I'd say. Not necessarily horror, but it's really, really nice to have an everyman who's a woman.
Yeah, exactly. And there's often, it's usually, like you said, it's usually a male character that has, some flaws, and he's relatable, and he's going to do everything right, and he's going to do everything he can that he believes is right.
And you side with him.
Yeah, you side with him. But I think that, and it's very, very uncommon for you to have that every man that isn't every woman.
Yeah.
That is also appreciated by male viewers.
Yeah.
Because Ellen Ripley has aspects of her that male viewers do really appreciate.
Yeah, and she's not in Alien, she's not a mother, which is so often the way that women are made, powerful in films, is that they're mothers, which obviously is an absolutely wonderful and important thing. But there are a lot of women out there who can't be mothers.
Yeah, and I don't get
quite sad about the fact that, quite often it's like, you're not complete as a woman if you're not a mother.
Because she doesn't have any. There's no reference to any family of hers. She's got no love interest. She's also not. I don't recall a single point in the film where anyone makes a sexual remark towards her.
No, apart from the butt crack.
Yeah, it's not a sexual remark.
No,
but
it's not a sexual remark.
It's an aspect. And I think that scene right at the end where she strips down to her underwear wasn't necessarily necessary.
Yeah.
But
I think it did showcase a vulnerability there, and I think that I don't think it would make a difference if there was a male character who was in their underwear. I think that was just.
I think it would have been viewed very differently, though. I think that if it had been a male character that just stripped down to his underwear, I do think that people would have said it was a bit unnecessary. But the idea that she was in her underwear did appeal to a very old-fashioned audience.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to remember that this film was made in 1979.
Yeah.
So
one thing that really does bother me about that is, like, why did she need to have that? Why did she need to be vulnerable?
Yeah,
because
I think it
male
was more
characters
of
don't have that.
I think it was more of a comfort thing. It was that it was meant to lull you, the viewer, into a false sense of security as well.
And it worked well for that.
Yeah, and it does work well for that. So I think there's a toss up between going too hard on some of these things as well. Like, there is an artistic merit, but was it necessary is a difficult question to ask of something artistic.
Could she have, like, the fact that her
could you have
pants...
been in slacks instead, like,
exactly,
you know,
or slightly bigger pants?
Yeah,
like, it wasn't necessary for her to be that exposed to also to have that same effect of vulnerability.
Yeah, that is very true.
So yeah, that is just one thing that gets to me quite a bit, because up until that point she's not I would argue she's not sexualized.
Yeah, she's not a sexual character at all.
You know, she's dirty, she's got no makeup on, she's exhausted, tired, working hard, terrified as well.
Yeah.
And she's a great character, and like really she holds herself together so much better than any other female character that I've seen in many films since.
Despite breaking down at moments as well, she does have moments of fear when she is on the verge of tears and is...
But she still holds her gun up and she still gets out of there. And then up until that point, that hasn't been broken. And then, you know, the clothes come off. But that, like I said, it was made in 1979. There was still some expectation of a female character, which is disappointing that it was.
Yeah.
It is a relic of the era.
But in general, really, really strong character, really well portrayed. I don't hear anyone complaining about that. Like new
Not
Ghostbusters,
often.
you just hear, why are there women? Whereas I don't see rants on the internet about why is the main female an alien? Like why is the main character female? And I mean, if it came out this year,
it worked very well. I think
with the internet. I mean, again, it's an old film, so are people reacting like that?
I wonder if I think I read somewhere that there was a potential that Ripley was going to be a male character.
Oh, cool.
I'm so glad that it was female, because it is such a good character and so different to anything else at the time.
Yeah.
That it really did open up sci-fi to women, and it also gave like women a strong female lead just to enjoy sci-fi.
Yeah.
So
really revolutionary film. Changed the industry a lot. And
would
is
strongly
something to look
recommend.
up to. I just wish it wasn't that scary, because it's taken me 21 years to watch it because I've been scared.
Well, you have to watch Aliens next.
Oh no, maybe can we watch that together?
Okay,
so that I don't get too scared. Right, so tell us what you thought of Alien. Tell us more films you might like us to talk about, more characters. I mean, Sigourney Weaver's got a sci-fi list as long as my arm, so you know we might come back to her. But yeah, so talk to us on Twitter at XX_science. And thank you for listening. I've been Beth.
I've been Hannah.
And this has been the XX Podcast. And I can't find my mouse.